Los Angeles shimmered, a sprawling canvas of sunshine and dreams. August 17, 1997, a day like any other. At LAX, a gleaming Boeing 747 stood poised. Flight 847, its destination Tokyo, a routine journey, or so it seemed. The air crackled with anticipation. Passengers boarded, their faces etched with excitement. Families embarking on adventures, businessmen chasing deals, each carrying their own stories, their own hopes, unaware of the mystery that awaited them. High above, the sky stretched, an endless blue expanse, a silent promise of freedom, of escape. But beneath the serene facade, a storm was brewing, a mystery that would captivate the world, a tale whispered on the wind. The engines roared, a symphony of power. The plane taxied down the runway, gathering speed. Inside the cockpit, Captain Raymond Doyle sat at the helm, a picture of calm amidst the controlled chaos. Years of experience had honed his skills, his every movement precise. Beside him, First Officer Janet Thompson monitored the instruments. Her eyes scanned the data, her voice a reassuring presence. The air crackled with radio chatter, a familiar rhythm of departure. Clearance granted, Flight 847 soared into the sky. Below, the city shrunk, transforming into a miniature landscape. Buildings became toy houses, cars like ants on a ribbon of road. The sun glinted off the Pacific, a vast expanse of blue. Inside the cabin, passengers settled into their seats. The familiar hum of the engines lulled some to sleep. Others chatted excitedly, their voices a low murmur. Stewardesses moved gracefully through the aisles, offering drinks and smiles. Everything seemed normal, routine, but fate, it seemed, had other plans. As Flight 847 cruised at 35,000 feet, a strange stillness settled over the cockpit. Captain Doyle, his gaze fixed on the horizon, felt a chill, a prickling sensation at the back of his neck. He glanced at the instruments, everything in order, yet the unease persisted. He reached for his headset, his voice steady. "Tokyo Control, this is Flight 847, do you copy?" Silence. Static crackled through the speakers. He tried again, his brow furrowing, no response. A wave of dizziness washed over him, a sudden nausea. He gripped the armrests, his knuckles turning white. The world around him seemed to tilt, to blur. He blinked, trying to clear his vision. And then, everything went black. In the passenger cabin, life went on, oblivious to the drama unfolding up front. Children laughed, their parents smiling wearily. A businessman typed furiously on his laptop, oblivious to the world outside his screen. The plane, now a metal cocoon hurtling through the sky, held its secrets close. Whispers of something amiss danced on the wind, unheard, unseen. Raymond Doyle, a name synonymous with the open skies, with adventure, with unwavering courage. Born with a thirst for the boundless blue, he'd always been drawn to the heavens. As a boy, he'd spend hours gazing up at the clouds, tracing imaginary flight paths with his finger. Model airplanes hung from his bedroom ceiling, a testament to his early fascination. His father, a seasoned Air Force pilot, nurtured this passion. Bedtime stories were filled with tales of daring maneuvers and the sheer joy of flight. Raymond listened, his eyes wide with wonder, his heart soaring with every word. He excelled in school, his focus unwavering, his sights set on the sky. He devoured books on aerodynamics, spent countless hours in flight simulators, honing his skills. His dedication was absolute, his passion, a burning fire. He yearned to touch the clouds, to dance with the wind, to experience the freedom of flight firsthand, and so, he did. Joining the Air Force after graduation was a natural progression. He embraced the rigorous training, the demanding schedules, the constant pressure. He rose through the ranks swiftly, his talent undeniable, his commitment unquestionable. He was living his dream, his every flight a testament to his childhood aspirations. Section 2, The Captain's Log. Years melted into decades. Raymond's career blossomed. From fighter jets to commercial airliners, he mastered them all. He joined Transglobal Airlines, his reputation preceding him. His calm demeanor, his sharp instincts, his unwavering focus, legendary. He commanded respect, not through authority but through sheer competence. He had seen it all. Turbulence that rattled the teeth, electrical storms that turned the sky into a light show, near misses that left him drenched in cold sweat. Through it all, he remained unflappable. His hands, steady on the controls, his voice, a beacon of calm in the storm. Passengers, sensing his unwavering confidence, felt safe in his hands. He was their silent guardian, their protector, in the vast expanse above the clouds. He took his responsibility seriously. Every takeoff, a sacred promise. Every landing, a testament to his skill. His logbook, a testament to his dedication. Thousands of hours logged, countless takeoffs and landings, a tapestry of destinations woven across its pages. He'd circled the globe, witnessed breathtaking sunrises, flown through star-studded nights. He was a master of his craft, a legend in the making, and yet fate, it seemed, had other plans. Section 3, Man of Routine. Off-duty, Raymond was a creature of habit. He thrived on routine, found comfort in the familiar. He lived in a modest house near the beach, the rhythmic crash of waves a soothing soundtrack to his life. Mornings began with a jog along the shore, the salt air invigorating his senses. He'd return home to a simple breakfast, meticulously prepared, the newspaper spread open beside his plate. He'd scan the headlines, his brow furrowed in concentration, sipping his coffee slowly. He preferred solitude, the quiet hum of his thoughts, his only company. He had few close friends, his work consuming most of his time. He was a private man, his emotions held in check, his thoughts rarely shared. He was content with his life, found peace in the solitude. He was, by all accounts, a man of simple pleasures, a man of routine. He found solace in the predictable rhythm of his days, the familiar comfort of his routine. He was a man who seemed to have it all figured out, a man in control of his destiny. But as fate would have it, life, like the weather, can change in an instant. Section 4. Premonition. The days leading up to Flight 847 were unremarkable. Raymond followed his routine meticulously. Jogs on the beach, quiet breakfasts, pre-flight checks, all executed with his usual precision. Yet, a shadow seemed to follow him, an unexplainable unease. He'd wake up in the middle of the night, his heart pounding, a cold sweat clinging to his skin. His dreams were plagued by turbulence, by blinding fog, by a sense of impending doom. He dismissed it as stress, the cumulative effect of years spent navigating the skies. He tried to shake off the feeling, to focus on the task at hand. He went through his pre-flight checks with meticulous care, his every movement precise. He chatted with the crew, his voice steady, his demeanor calm, but deep down, a gnawing anxiety persisted. He couldn't shake off the feeling that something wasn't right. It was a whisper in the back of his mind, a chill that ran down his spine. He pushed the thoughts aside, attributing them to a restless night. He was Captain Raymond Doyle, a man who had faced countless challenges and emerged victorious. He would not be swayed by a mere feeling. He would fly as he always did, with skill, with precision, with unwavering courage. But fate, it seemed, had other plans. Hours melted into the flight. The sun, a fiery orb, dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple. The 747, a tiny speck in the vast expanse, hummed steadily onward. In the cockpit, a chilling silence had descended. Repeated calls to Captain Doyle went unanswered. First Officer Thompson, her initial amusement at his lack of response giving way to concern, unfastened her harness and turned towards the captain's seat. "Raymond?" she called out, her voice tight with apprehension. No response. She reached out, her hand hovering over his shoulder, hesitant to touch him. "Captain Doyle?" she repeated, her voice sharper now, a tremor of fear rippling through her. The silence in the cockpit was deafening, broken only by the hum of the engines and the gentle hiss of the air conditioning. She noticed his headset was slightly askew, a bead of sweat trickling down his temple. Her heart pounded in her chest, a cold dread creeping up her spine. She had never seen him like this, not in all the years they had flown together. He was always so in control, so unflappable. But something was terribly wrong. A soft crackle from the radio, a burst of static, and then a voice, faint, garbled, almost ethereal. Thompson jumped, her hand instinctively reaching for the volume knob. "Mayday! Mayday!" the voice rasped, barely audible above the static. "This is Flight 847. We need..." The transmission broke up, lost in a cacophony of white noise. Thompson frantically adjusted the dials, her heart pounding in her ears. "Flight 847, this is Tokyo Control, do you copy?" she called out, her voice urgent, her fingers trembling. "Please repeat, over." Silence. She tried again, her voice rising in panic. "Flight 847, please respond, do you copy?" Only static answered back. She glanced at the radar, at the instruments, everything seemed normal, and yet, something was terribly wrong. The ghostly transmission, the unanswered calls, the eerie silence from the captain's seat. She was alone in the cockpit, hurtling through the night sky, a chilling premonition settling in the pit of her stomach. Taking a deep breath, Thompson fought down the rising panic. She had to act, for the sake of the passengers, for the crew, for herself. She scanned the cockpit one last time, her gaze lingering on the captain's empty seat. The headset lay discarded, still warm from his touch. A wave of dizziness washed over her, the reality of the situation hitting her with full force. Captain Doyle was gone. Vanished. She shook her head, trying to make sense of the impossible. There was no logical explanation. He couldn't have just disappeared. Could he? Her mind raced, searching for answers, for any sign, any clue. But there was nothing. Just the empty seat, the silence, and the growing sense of unease that something was terribly, terribly wrong. Steeling her nerves, Thompson focused on the task at hand. The plane was still flying, thankfully, on autopilot. Her first priority was to ensure a safe landing. She contacted Tokyo Control, her voice remarkably steady despite the turmoil within. "This is First Officer Thompson requesting immediate assistance. Captain Doyle is unavailable," she said, choosing her words carefully. She couldn't very well announce to the world that her captain had vanished mid-flight. Not yet. Tokyo Control, initially confused, quickly grasped the gravity of the situation. They assured her of their full support, mobilizing emergency services, and dispatching a veteran pilot to guide her through the landing procedures. Thompson, her focus unwavering, her every action precise, followed their instructions to the letter. News of the unfolding drama aboard Flight 847 spread like wildfire. Media outlets across the globe scrambled for updates, their headlines screaming the unbelievable, "Captain vanishes from cockpit." The story, a bizarre blend of reality and fiction, captivated the public's imagination. Theories ranging from the plausible to the outlandish ran rampant. Had Captain Doyle suffered a sudden medical emergency? Had he deliberately abandoned the flight, or had something more sinister transpired at 35,000 feet? The world held its breath, waiting for answers, for some explanation, for some glimmer of understanding in the face of the inexplicable. But as the hours turned into days, the mystery only deepened. Captain Doyle, once a respected pilot, now a ghost in the machine, his disappearance an enigma that would haunt the annals of aviation history. The runway lights blazed, a beacon of hope amidst the growing darkness. Flight 847, guided by Thompson's steady hand, descended through the inky sky. The air crackled with tension, every bump amplified in the silence of the cockpit. Thompson's knuckles were white as she gripped the controls, the weight of responsibility pressed down on her. Then, with a gentle thud, the wheels kissed the tarmac. A collective sigh of relief rippled through the cabin. But for Thompson, there was no time for relief. The mystery of Captain Doyle's disappearance loomed large. As the plane stopped, uniformed personnel flooded the cabin. Paramedics, security officers, and officials converged on the aircraft. The investigation had begun. The aircraft, now a crime scene suspended in metal and wire, was immediately cordoned off. A team of seasoned investigators, their faces etched with years of experience, swarmed the plane. Every inch of the cockpit, every crevice, every button and dial, was scrutinized, photographed, and dusted for prints. The air, thick with the smell of jet fuel and nervous sweat, crackled with the rapid-fire questions of the investigators. Thompson, her ordeal far from over, found herself recounting the events leading up to Captain Doyle's disappearance in excruciating detail. Over and over again she repeated the story, each time hoping some new detail, some overlooked clue would surface. But the facts remained stubbornly elusive. The cockpit door, equipped with a high-security lock, showed no signs of forced entry. There was no evidence of a struggle, no indication of foul play. The mystery of Captain Doyle's vanishing deepened, leaving the investigators baffled and the public hungry for answers. The passengers and crew, whisked away for individual questioning, added their voices to the growing chorus of confusion and fear. Each offered their own perspective, their own fleeting glimpses of the man who had seemingly vanished into thin air. But no one had seen anything, heard anything, that could explain the inexplicable. The black box, that silent sentinel of the skies, held the key to unraveling the mystery. The cockpit voice recorder offered a tantalizing glimpse into the final moments before Captain Doyle's disappearance. The data, cold and impersonal, only deepened the enigma. Days turned into weeks, and the investigation dragged on. Authorities scoured Captain Doyle's personal life, searching for any hidden troubles. The case, officially unsolved, faded from the headlines, but the legend lived on. The disappearance of Captain Doyle sparked a firestorm of speculation. One of the most intriguing explanations was the void theory, suggesting micro-wormholes could act as portals to other dimensions. The scientific community remained skeptical, but the theory persisted. Another theory was that of temporal turbulence, proposing Captain Doyle had stumbled into a pocket of distorted time. Could he have been transported to the past or future, leaving no trace? The theory, with its blend of scientific-sounding terminology and tantalizing possibilities, continued to capture the imagination. For those who favored more grounded explanations, the theory of a hijacking held appeal. Could Captain Doyle have been the victim of a sophisticated abduction, executed with such precision that it defied detection? The theory, while lacking concrete evidence, played upon the anxieties of a world grappling with terrorism and espionage. The theory that perhaps cut closest to the bone was that Captain Doyle had orchestrated his own disappearance. Could this respected pilot have been harboring a secret that drove him to abandon his post? The thought of Captain Doyle deliberately abandoning his post was a bitter pill to swallow. As the initial shock subsided, a different kind of theory emerged. Who was Captain Raymond Doyle, the man behind the uniform? Could the answer to the mystery lie in the complexities of the human psyche? The investigation relied heavily on eyewitness accounts. Sarah Jenkins, a young businesswoman, recalled the moment the plane began its unexpected descent. Little did she know that those capable hands were nowhere to be found. John Tanaka, a seasoned traveler, noticed something unusual. A faint light, like someone had briefly turned on a flashlight in the cockpit. Could it have been a clue, a silent signal from the cockpit? For the flight attendants, the first indication that something was amiss came from an absence. The routine chime of the call button had fallen silent. The silence persisted, a heavy blanket of uncertainty settling over the cabin. The investigation yielded no conclusive answers. The evidence pointed in countless directions, each path leading to a dead end. The disappearance of Captain Doyle became a haunting reminder of the limits of our knowledge. The case of Flight 847 faded from the headlines, relegated to the cold case files, but the story refused to die. The legend of Captain Doyle, the pilot who vanished without a trace, lived on, a chilling tale whispered among pilots and flight attendants, a reminder that some mysteries defy explanation. The incident cast a long shadow over the aviation industry, prompting airlines to re-examine safety protocols. The cockpit door became a focal point for scrutiny, its design analyzed to prevent similar incidents. The psychological screening of pilots gained renewed importance as experts sought to understand the pressures faced by pilots. But beyond the practical implications, the disappearance of Captain Doyle had a more profound impact, a ripple effect that extended far beyond the aviation industry. It served as a stark reminder that the world, for all its predictability and order, is still a place where the unexpected can occur, where the impossible can become reality in the blink of an eye. The mystery of Flight 847, unresolved and perhaps unsolvable, became a testament to the enduring human need to make sense of the unknown, to find meaning in the face of chaos and uncertainty. The mystery of Captain Raymond Doyle's fate on Flight 847 remains unsolved, sparking endless debate and speculation. The allure of the unknown ensures the story will be told for generations. Perhaps new evidence will emerge, unlocking the secrets of that night. Or maybe the truth will remain elusive, a testament to fate's capricious nature. In the end, the story of Flight 847 captivates us, even as it eludes our grasp.